Hi, I am Russ Allman. I'm the Communications Director for the Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. And today we're doing kind of a unique interview because today we are interviewing our current Executive Director, Dave Tosch, soon to not be Executive Director. So for those of you that haven't heard, Dave's going to be retiring early this summer. And so this might be a bit of a surprise to you. So instead of him interviewing somebody else, I'm going to interview him for a change, and just kind of talk a little bit about his background and his career and how he ended up here at the senior center, and maybe what he plans to do once he hangs up his hat. So let's start with Dave. Tell me a little bit about your background. It's from what I understand, you grew up in the area.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Cashmere, and by the way, my wife Luann also grew up in Cashmere. And so what I've told people is that this is my home. The Wenatchee Valley is my home. It's always going to be my home. Don't have a lot of family here anymore. Luann's sister lives in town, and her brother. My family is all gone from the area, but this is home. And I just tell people at the senior center, this is my family. The senior center is my family, and of course, Luann agrees with me on all that. She's become a snowbird and goes south in the wintertime, and of course, during the last 5 years she's been doing that. I try to go back and forth, but a lot of people think, well, once Dave retires, he's going to Arizona. Well, that's not the case. I may go down there for 4 months out of the year as a snowbird, but no, we're not leaving the area. This is home.
Yeah. So you have a long military background, right? I mean, did you graduated from high school here, left for college? Did you go right into the military and then go back to school, or what was your history?
Well, I graduated in 1970 from Cashmere, and I went to Cheney, Eastern Washington University, to play football. I didn't have a lot of other interests at that point, but the ROTC department came in one day to tell us, the football players, the football team, that they had scholarships available. Back then, there wasn't really any athletic scholarships available at that level, and I listened to what they had to say, and I decided I would take one of those scholarships. And so I got a 3-year ROTC scholarship, and then once I graduated, I owed the Army 4 years. And so it's kind of a long story where it went from there, but that's how I was commissioned in the Army the year I graduated in 1974, and went right on active duty and never looked back. Spent 20 years and retired from the military.
What were some of the places you were stationed?
Yeah, well, I had, everybody I guess can say they had a unique career. Vietnam was winding down when I went on active duty. I went to Germany and spent 3 years in Germany, and then that was really interesting to have my first assignment in Germany. I really enjoyed that, and then my family began to grow. But I owed the Army 4 years because of my scholarship, and they would not let me stay for my 4th year in Germany. I was thinking at that point of just getting out of the Army and going on to something else. I wound up in Fort Hood, Texas. Nobody wanted to go to Fort Hood, Texas. It wasn't one of those popular places to go, but yet what I found out is that you got to keep an open mind in life. And my career totally changed for a lot of reasons while I was serving in Texas, and became a company commander in the 1st Cavalry Division, and my career kind of took off at that point. So everything changed within about a year, and I made a career out of the military and spent 20 years. I was in logistics and did a lot of interesting things that I thought at the time would probably further a career in a lot of different areas, my background and all. So had a great career.
Oh. And so how did you end up back in the Valley?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't, after I retired from the Army, I did a lot of different things. and there wasn't really much for me in the Wenatchee Valley. I stayed on the west side of the mountains in the Tacoma area outside of Fort Lewis. I retired out of Alaska, but came back to the Fort Lewis area. And I did a lot of different things, let's just say that. And but I always knew that this was home, the Wenatchee Valley, and I knew that I'd get back here eventually. And so 12 years ago, I wound up back in the valley. Should I talk about how I got involved with the senior center?
Yeah, I guess. Well, first of all, how did you end up meeting Luann? Because it was kind of circuitous.
Well, you've got an advantage on me here. You've heard all my stories. So Luann and I ran into each other. We met at a class reunion for the Cashmere class of 1970. It was our 40th reunion. Her brother had been a classmate of ours, and she came to represent her brother. And we got to talking, and we found out that we were both single, and started dating shortly after that, and got married 12 years ago. And so I guess you could say we reconnected at a class reunion. And that would have been in wait a minute. Here I go. I'm getting old. I forgot. That was in 2010, our 40th class reunion. So I could go on about that story if you wish, but
well, so you settled back in the area here.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah. So as it turns out, Luann was already living in Wenatchee and had bought a home, and so we started dating and realized that we had a good setup with what she already had. With her small home, and we're still in that same small home. We had downsized, and we weren't going to upsize. So, we've been together now. Our wedding anniversary is coming up. I think it's 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of doing the math here, and you became the executive director at the senior center in 2013. Mm-hmm. So you were married
about a year.
About a year. So what happened that you decided to come out of retirement?
Well, she looked at me one day after we'd been married about a year and said, you need to go find something to do. I think a lot of people have heard that kind of thing in the past. I was not ready to retire. Let's just say that. And I thought I was, but I wasn't. And so one day, I think it was probably the month of May or June of 2013, she was looking in the paper and found that the senior center, executive director of the senior center, was retiring, and the position was opening. And she said, you need to check into that. Well, and I did. I called at the time, the chair of the board, and that was Donna Pipkin, who told me that I needed to apply, and I did. And of course, I'm still here. And it's been a great time, and I'm sure you got other questions about some of that.
Yeah. So it's been So it's 10 years.
Yeah, it'll be 11 years in this summer in July.
Okay. So, what have you enjoyed most about being executive director?
Yeah.
Here?
Well, I always say that this isn't necessarily just a job for me. This has been a reacquainting of the people, the families in the valley that I knew growing up. And I guess maybe I'm a little into nostalgia, maybe. I don't know what it is. My family had a service station in Cashmere, and I got to meet and know a lot of the people, in more so than most kids, because I was amongst all these older people that were coming into the service station and doing business, and just remember so much about all that. And those are good memories for me. And I think it was the fact that I came in here. Our past chair of the board, Rosalie Richardson, was also a Cashmere person. And it's kind of a sad story, but her husband had passed away. He was also a Cashmere person. They both graduated in Cashmere in 1957. Well, anyway, I'd been here for just a couple weeks, and I just happened to be in the office when they had this celebration of life on a Saturday afternoon. And I looked out my door, and I saw all these people I recognized that were classmates of her and friends from Cashmere. And so I sat down after the celebration and started talking to all of them. And that's when the light came on and said, I'm really going to enjoy this. I'm reacquainting with all these people, their families that I knew. It's meaningful to me. And so ever since then, I always say there hardly a week has gone by that I haven't run into somebody that I didn't see that I knew 50 years ago. And those are good memories for me. And that's why I'm still here.
Yeah, I could say, I've been involved with the senior center, working here as a contractor for about 8 years, and now being on staff for the last 8 months. And that's one of the things that's really kind of stood out to me that I think really makes you unique in this role, is just your knowledge of the community and the people here. And it seems like you're connected to everybody here in some way, at most twice removed.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's even less than that. I mean, even at lunch today, there was somebody that we were talking to, and there was a connection, and they recognized you, and it's So I think that's something that's been really unique, and kind of a unique, I guess, skill, inbred skill.
Yeah, I don't know about a skill. It's just I enjoy it. I enjoy conversing. So, the priority of my day, I'm here almost every day, weekdays, is the lunch time, which from 11:30 to 1 o'clock is my time, and my time is spent in the lunchroom talking to people, reacquainting with people, getting to know them, making sure they're welcome if I don't know them. That kind of thing is very important to me, and I think that's how you build an organization. Making sure that people show up and they're greeted in a friendly manner, they're welcomed, they feel good about being here, and they want to come back when they leave. And that's been my whole thing since I've been here.
I think one of the things that has really stood out to me too, that's kind of surprising, is you coming from a military background, being longtime military, and being in such a regimented type of environment.
Yeah.
And then coming here, hearing your background, the immediate expectation will be, oh, he's going to run this like a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
And everything's going to be, very organized and in line. And you've really made a point of kind of doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And, maybe you could kind of touch on why you made the decision to do that.
Well, first of all, I don't think, if it weren't for Donna Pipkin, I don't think I would have been hired for the job. I think most people would have looked at my resume and say, retired military? That's not what this place is about. This doesn't have anything to do with that kind of a background. But Donna knew me because I grew up with her 2 boys and her daughter. We were about the same age. Played sports with them and all the things you do in high school. And so she kind of knew me. And I didn't know her personally in high school necessarily, but I think she knew my background and what I'd accomplished in my life. And the fact, though, that I knew her 2 boys, and I'm sure she had talked to them, and kind of checked me out a little bit with them, helped me gain this position. So I made sure that she understood, and the board, that I was not going to come in here and run this like a military organization. I don't think that would work at all. And so I went into this thing making sure that people realized that I wasn't going to be that way, that I was going to be approachable, that I was going to listen to people. And I think that's really what the organization needs to have. And so it worked out. And I've had a lot of fun.
At the same time, I mean, there are a lot of vets that are involved here, and I think there's probably some kind of a connection there, vet to vet, and so they appreciate some of the things you do, like making sure that we do the Pledge of Allegiance every day at lunch, and celebrating President's Day, and some of those things that maybe not in general society we don't always do anymore. But
Yeah.
I think certainly to ex-military, I think those things are kind of ingrained in.
Yeah, they are, and I do think people appreciate some of the little things that we do, and maybe it's not a little thing; it's an important thing. We do the Pledge of Allegiance at lunch every day, and I think that is important to people. I do know that when I first got here, we had a lot of the World War II generation that were still regulars at lunchtime. We lost, sad to say, almost all of them, and I think they appreciated the fact that. There was a military background with me that they could relate to in so many ways. That was helpful, I think. But I think though that the main point of it is that I wanted them to know that I wasn't going to run this like a military organization. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't work.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a bit about how the senior center needs of the senior center are changing, and how we're going to be moving forward, because you've been heavily involved in that up to this point, and that's going to be one of the things that your successor is really going to be sinking their teeth into and kind of in the middle of as this transition takes place.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest issues with the senior center as it is right now that we're dealing with?
Well, I think the issues really stem from the changing generations, and the generation that we're welcoming here today as new members is the baby boom generation, which I'm a part of. I always tell this story too, that when this building was designed in 1991, 92, in that era, it was the World War II generation that designed the building to suit their needs. And that's changed. The baby boomer generation has much different tastes and wants and desires than what the World War II generation had. I used the dance floor as an example of that. The number one priority when they designed this building, it was designed around a really nice dance floor, which we still have. I would say that it's not being used as much for dances as it used to be, although we still have live music dances on the weekends. It would be more attuned to meeting the needs of exercise wants and desires. We probably would have pickleball courts here now, if it were designed today. No doubt we would, indoor pickleball. And, that's just one of the examples. But that dance floor is being used all week long, day in and day out, for exercise. And it's meeting the needs of what the baby boomers want. And that's any organization. You got to meet the needs of the people that are out there that you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And at the same time, the Valley has obviously grown a lot since the building was built 30 years ago. And our need for generating revenue to run this place has also changed significantly too. Maybe you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, well, obviously, economics have changed a lot in 30 years. I always tell this story as well. Bonita McLean, who was our first executive director, came in, was handed the keys, brand new building, everything's just perfect. But she was handed the keys and was told, well, you got to figure this thing out now. As far as how to staff it, how to run it, how to pay for all the things that had to be taken care of. I think the city of Wenatchee had been for the first several years, had been doing some things like taking care of the garbage service, and I think they were paying some of the utilities and things of that nature. But what they did was they immediately took, I think, 3 of the annex rooms, the suites that we call them, and rented them out to organizations to bring in some income. And but they also started the thrift store right away within a year or so. It was very small. There was one little room, and of course that's really exploded. And the reason is that we're on our own. We're an independent organization. We've always had to try and figure out where all the money was going to come from to run the place and pay all of our bills. And we figured it out all these years. And really the luxury of the whole thing is we get to run our own show. I don't have to go to the city of Wenatchee and get my budget approved. I don't have to deal with a lot of that kind of stuff, which, and I've said this before, this is nothing against the city, but I do know how things have to be run in local government. I don't know that I would be working for the city of Wenatchee. So there's some positives. It's a lot of stress at times. It's a lot of work to figure all this out. But you can also take pride in the fact that we've done it on our own.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to point out too. Is most senior centers are a part of either a city or Parks and Rec. So the staff are usually city employees or government employees. The space is provided for, transportation is provided for as part of city budget, and that's not how we're organized. In fact, as far as we're aware, there's only one other organization, one other senior center in the state that's organized like we are.
Yeah, pretty much of our size. You know, there's some smaller ones out there, but that run similar to us. But for the most part, yes. And so, again, it's a sense of pride to be able to be independent and self-sufficient, and yet a lot of challenges with regard to all that.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the building expansion project that we're working on. One of the main reasons for that is because of what's happened with the thrift shop. The thrift shop has grown to the point, it was like you said, it was in a very small area in the back of the building, and coming out of COVID, the pandemic, when we were shut down for 2.5 years, the thrift shop continued to thrive and grow, and is at the point now where it's basically half of our building. And so of our 9 activity spaces, we're down to 3 that we can actually use.
And the one social hall is one of the spaces, and there are times where there's 4 or 5 activities ongoing at one time.
I literally look at that, and I've been calling it our 3-ring circus because there are, Friday mornings, there are typically 4 or 5 activities going on in there at the same time, including an exercise class on the dance floor, and people, having group meetings and individuals meeting, and I think there's a card game group, and then we also do our coffee hour on Friday mornings. All that's trying to happen in that one space, and it's chaotic at this point. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what our plans are.
Don't want to take up a lot of time on it, but let me just go back just a little bit, how we've progressed to where we're at right now. Russ is right. We closed the senior center proper during COVID for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. But we kept the store open. The store was closed for about 3 months during the early stages of the epidemic. Once we were able to open it again, and why would we want to open it again? Well, that's how we stayed alive and paid our bills. And we wanted to retain staff. We didn't want to just let everybody go and then have to rehire a whole new staff after COVID. So we made all that work. Well, the thrift store had a lot to do with how we were able to do that. Well, here you are. You've got no activities going on in the rest of the building because we're shut down. You have all this extra space, and people really started supporting our store during this point in time. And now you have all these customers with all these needs, and we expanded the store. Our sales have doubled since the start of COVID in our store. And that speaks volumes for why we did what we did. I didn't like or enjoy the fact of having to tell some of the groups that we did not have space for them to come back to. Our ping pong group, our bridge groups, our pinochle groups, so many groups that we were just not able to bring back because now we've used that space. And so there's some people that would argue about it and say, oh yeah, you did the wrong thing or you did the right thing. No matter what you want to think about it is we're still alive, we're thriving, and now we're out of space. And we need to add on some more space to have our activities back again that we want to have, and even expand into more activities that we can host here. we've got a lot of nonprofits that come out and use our space in the evenings. We had, this is on a Friday, last night on a Thursday, we had 3 groups out here. We had the NAMI, which is a nonprofit group. We had our Zumba exercise, and we had our dance lessons. Had a dance last night on a Thursday evening. 3 things going on that we're serving the community. And that's the thing, is people need to understand, we are serving the community. It's not just all about the senior center. It's what we're doing for other organizations, especially small nonprofits that have no place to meet. I could go on. I think that's a good example, though, of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't talk about the new building.
Yeah.
So let me just say a few words about that. So we went to the city to say we need more space, and we talked to them for a number of months, and we, this area of town is not zoned for a retail store, and that's one of the biggest issues. So what we've done is we've come up with a solution to where we can expand the building and attach this new structure to the current building, meet all the zoning requirements, and have more space for activities. And oh, by the way, the current design of that store in this building is not conducive to a retail environment. It's compartmentalized. It's not good for a lot of reasons. It's not good for a retail store. So we're going to have a building that's going to be just a hollow, empty structure that we can put all of our shelving and all of our clothing racks and all of the items in one place and be a lot more efficient.
Yeah. And the end result too is that all of the rooms that were originally being used as activity rooms can be put back the way that not just back the way that they were, but renovated and updated for modern use as well. That's going to include putting some walls back in that were taken out, adjusting entrances and security. So it's a significant renovation and upgrade that needs to be done to the building to get it back to where it needs to be.
So the new structure itself isn't going to cost all that much. Well, we got a figure of about 1.7 million, but that includes all of the leveling the ground and doing all the things that have to be done just to build a building. And then, but a part of the price tag when we get up to 4 million is to renovate the current building. So it is conducive to more activities, and people have some privacy and all of those things that we are missing right now.
And to be fair, I mean, the building has been very well maintained. For a 30-year-old building, it looks really clean and well maintained. But the reality is that there are areas like the thrift shop that has a lot of traffic that just needs to be, gutted out and cleaned, and again, walls added back in. And there's a lot of infrastructure here that was built 30 years ago that, for example, our computer wiring in the walls was put in probably 15 years ago, and is so old that it doesn't even support the speed of our internet connection that's coming in right now. Our Wi-Fi network is not equipped to be able to handle hundreds of people coming in here at once. There are things like that and just making the building up to date for what people's needs are in 21st century, so that's all part of it too. What do you anticipate the schedule is for us going through this process?
Well, we're talking in early March of 2024 today, 1st of March actually. So we've been working with a consultant that's helping us along with the grant process and the state capital budget process. We've got a request in right now for several $100,000 to do the engineering and architectural work that's necessary before you're ready to build. And we're waiting on an answer back on that in the next couple months. We hope to know for sure that we're going to get that money to get this thing shovel ready. So that's going to take a little while to get all the design work and all the formalities and all the talking with the city and permitting, all these things that have to be done before we're shovel ready. We're hoping to be shovel ready at some point, early next year, and maybe have this new facility maybe in 2025, towards the latter part of 2025. We're not real sure yet, because again, it's going to depend on the funding requests that we're going to be putting in.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has to do with the state budget process. We're also going to the federal level to request some funding. But the bottom line, when you do something like this, they're not going to pay the whole bill. They want us to have some skin in the game, and that's why we're doing some of the local fundraising we're doing right now. We just started in February with our crab feed fundraiser. Many of the people in the community have heard about this thing. We've got a lot of publicity over that. But that was to get people's attention that this is our kickoff. This is to start raising the local funds. And we think we need about $400,000 that we need to raise for that, in order to show the state and the feds that we're serious about this, and we have some of our own money set aside to help with the project. And I guess that's the best way to summarize that.
It's going to be it's definitely going to be a very busy time the next couple of years, and still a lot of uncertainty. But I think we're confident we can raise the money. And we're confident in the community supporting us too. I mean, that's one of the things that I think has really been shown just from the things we've done so far, is that people are really behind us.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we have this have the senior center grow with the community. We are obviously, as a community, we're growing. We're also getting older as a community. And so the needs of the community for expanding a senior center, I think, are pretty clear as well.
Yeah. I think everybody's on. We haven't got any feedback or any comments about why would you want to do this. I think everybody understands the need. And we've done and I got to give Russ a real compliment on a lot of this. A lot of it is just getting the word out there, and we've been doing a lot of that recently. Not only with the fundraiser, but just broadcasting the fact that this is why we need this money to serve a real good purpose in serving the community.
Yeah. So let's switch back to you a little bit again. Yeah. So. What are you planning to do after you retire? Or will you really retire this time? or I suspect we're going to see you around here quite a bit.
Well, my goal is not to have my wife tell me I need to go find something to do. Now, I've already found what I'm going to do, and I won't have to go out looking. I will admit that I really have enjoyed this place, and I'm probably going to miss the place. But it comes a time in your life where you look in the mirror and say, I'm not getting any younger. I still want to go outdoors and do all the things I used to enjoy and still enjoy, and not be too old to do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what age that is, but obviously I'm 72 now, and it's time to really take advantage of the time I have left to do all the things I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I have already talked to several of the board members and others that I'd be more than willing to help out at times. I'm just not going to be here every day. And I'll probably be going south with Luann. We'll be snowbirds for about 4 months out of the year. But this is still home. We're not leaving Wenatchee. I'd still love to be able to help where I can, and volunteer role. And I think I can do that. But I can also leave here knowing that I can leave my house every day and go wherever I want, maybe fishing, Mm-hmm. I have, and I'm going to say this, one of the reasons I've really enjoyed it here is I've always worked with a really good board of directors. They have let me do my job. I can come and go whenever I wish. I don't go a lot, but I know that I've got their backing, that if I want to go out and enjoy a week or two here or there, that there was no questions asked. And that's really nice to be able to have a job like that. And so the issue is though when I come back from that, I still have all the work that needs to be done. Not all, hey, I've got really good people here. I mean, I've got a store manager, I've got a kitchen manager, I got a program director, I got a communications person now that takes a big load off of me. So I'm not saying that I do all the work by any means, but still, there's decisions to be made. There's things that have to be taken care of that kind of the director has to be involved in, and you know, I just can't take a month here and there. You know, is what I'm saying.
And you know, I know just from experience and being around you that you're not the type of person that would just leave and cut the cord. And and you know, part of the reason that you've been here as long as you have is you don't want to just turn it over to whoever. Right. You know, I think it's really important to you that we find an executive director that's the right fit for this organization. Yeah. What qualities and experiences do you see as important for your replacement?
Oh boy, you know, it doesn't have to be all in the same mold. I am replaceable, and I can be replaced by somebody that has different views and thoughts and priorities. And you know, what I will say about that is that we need a new energy. We need new ideas. I'm not the best idea person around. I'm not real creative. I tend to find something that works and I stick with it. I've always believed in having continuity amongst the staff is very important for so many reasons, you know, and I use my military experience. There was times in the military where there was a lot of upheaval, there was a lot of change going on. People were coming and going constantly. We talk about units in the Army. Well, I had a heck of a time identifying the organizations I was with as a really good unit, because you got to have you got to have some continuity. You got to have, you know, some of the being on the same page, you know. And even though it was a military culture and all of that, I experienced a lot of upheaval, a lot of turnover, and it was very frustrating to me. So my priority when I got here was to figure out who we wanted, and we, by the way, kept almost all of them. Many of them just retired. 2 of them just retired last year. I've still got the same store manager in the store. I still got the same kitchen manager in the kitchen. And, you know, that was important to me. And I hope the new person coming in doesn't try to change everything at once. There's some things that need to be done different. Anytime you have an organization of this kind of magnitude with all these things going on, it's somewhat complex. I don't think it's good to just turn everything upside down and start over. And so those are the kind of things that I would want to see in the next director. Obviously, there's going to be some change. And anytime you have maybe a change in priorities or you have some new ideas, which we probably need, you know, you got to have some change. And so I think I would welcome somebody with high energy that's trying to serve the community and loves to work with seniors and understand that it's not always crystal clear. There's a lot of gray areas. Somebody that can deal in those gray areas is important.
So I guess that kind of leads into the last question I had is what advice, I mean, you kind of touched on this already, but what advice would you give to your successor when you hand over the reins? Yeah.
I think hopefully we'll have an overlap in whatever that is. Is it a month? Is it more than a month? It should be about a month in my mind to show them what all I've been dealing with for 10 years, give them a fair chance with that. But I also think that, you know, again, going back to new ideas and all of that, is going to be important. I mean, anytime you have somebody in an organization for 10 years, things tend to be very set, you know, in a pattern. Maybe some people really like that. I do. But yet, this future that we've got coming, we're going to have to be very creative. We're going to have to find new sources of funding, whether it be grants or streams of income that we figure out where to get that from. You know, those kinds of things are going to be going to be important. But it's got to be somebody that doesn't sit in their office all day and do paperwork. Part of the reason why my office is a total disaster is because I don't like being in there doing paperwork. And yet, yes, it's necessary. But no, I think it needs to be a people person oriented to serving seniors and welcoming people and making sure that they're comfortable. Those are the things that are, to me, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've noticed. I mean, I've seen the description of the executive director position that the board has put together.
Yeah.
And one of the points that they have really focused on is, it says right on there, this is a working position. It's not just an administrative position.
Yeah.
So it's somebody that's not, like Dave said, not just sitting behind a desk. It's somebody that's willing to go out and meet and greet and integrate and interface with the seniors and interface with the community. And it's a very important part of what we do here. And being a relatively small staff, there's a lot of hats that the executive director plays here. We're big enough to be really busy, but not too big to wear a lot of hats, I think.
Yeah. I'll say it another way, as far as my perspective. How do I say? We talk, I hear this, some of these words mentioned quite often these days about organizations and management. And I think the word I hear a lot now is about empowering people. And I really think that the only way we can run an organization of this magnitude and the complexity involved, and when I say complexity, most senior centers don't have a retail store doing the kind of business we're doing. Most senior centers don't have a commercial kitchen that we have. Most senior centers aren't maintaining their own building. Most senior centers don't have an HR department and a payroll to meet. We have all of that. And you have to be able to empower the people you have and entrust them with the responsibility of taking care of what they're here for.
Yeah.
And if without that, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say, I've been working at the senior center as an employee for about 8 months now. I've actually, prior to that, I was working as a contractor, helping with social media and doing videos, doing the television show that we hope to get going again here soon. So I've actually been involved with the senior center now since 2015, I believe. I checked back. So not long after you started. You may not know this, but I had started a business with a partner doing that type of work. And this was actually our first joint client that we had gotten outside of when we started our business.
Yeah.
And at the time it was just a very small, a fairly small role, just helping with social media because you didn't have a presence there. But that had evolved into, during the pandemic, starting at 2 TV shows. And
mention that.
I was spending so much time here, we just decided it made sense for me to just be here all the time. So that's kind of what ended up happening. But I did want to say, I've been involved with the senior center now for that period of time, and give me a chance to really to get to know you, and it's really been a pleasure to not just to get to know you personally, but just to see how you work with people. And, I think it's a really special relationship you have with this organization and with the community. And I think there are a lot of people that would really like to, and me too, just express a lot of gratitude for what you've done here.
Hopefully that I've done a lot of the right things. I saw a comment that I went to a Rotary convention here a month or so ago, and I was reminded about some of the famous lines of people that were leaders in our world. And one of the comments that I saw that I remembered from the past, and what I've always tried to implicate or to embrace is it's not about doing all the things right. It's about doing the right things. And it's something like that. And really that's truly what I believe. I take risks. There's a lot of things that I should be doing right that I may not be doing necessarily the best way possible in some people's mind. But what I think I'm doing is I'm doing the right things in terms of servicing our community, and providing what I think is necessary to meet the needs of our seniors.
Yeah. Well, with that, we just wanted to again thank you for everything you've done here, and I'm sure the community is behind you, and hope you enjoy your retirement, and hope that you'll stick around and continue to help us, and not just here but in the community as in doing community service. Because
the other word you just used this a little bit ago. I'm not going to ghost anybody. I'll still be around.
We taught him a few social media terms while I've been here, and ghosting is one of them. He actually had to explain it to his wife the other day, so I'm pretty impressed. So, well, thanks again, and we hope you enjoy your retirement, and that you don't become a stranger. No. I doubt that's going to happen.
I hope not.
All right.
Thank you, Russ.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay.